Happy New Year, everybody. I'm Armin Budish. Welcome to Golden Opportunities.
Today, how to harmonize your hormones to help with successful weight loss. Then, we'll update you on the ups and downs of the money market. Plus, is your home a haven or has your domicile become a drain? We'll see if you should sell yourself on selling. And don't let bad IRA investments tarnish your golden years.
It's time to get GOing, so pull up a chair and join us at our kitchen table for Golden Opportunities. Did you know that the way you walk and what you weigh can serve as warning signs for future back pain? With the new year here, why not take a new approach and resolve to spare your spine of any more aching? Dr. Noel Aboud is here to help. Dr. Aboud is with the Solon Spine and Wellness Center. Thanks for joining us, Doctor.
Thank you.
So, what does our weight have to do with chronic back pain?
It's a good question. It's really a matter of simple physics. You know, any function, a door hinge, a shock absorber on a car, a chair that has more pressure on is going to break down faster. And so the more weight that we have that we're carrying on our bodies, the faster our body parts are going to break down.
What does hormones have to do with weight gain?
Many times when we've had poor nutrition and we've eaten poorly over time, our hormonal system is out of whack, and so therefore the fat burning hormones and the fat storing hormones are out of whack, and you can even limit your calories, but you just can't seem to lose weight. And we oftentimes counsel our patients on how to get a handle on that. What foods will cause you to store fat and what foods will cause you to release fat.
Now you said that you just by looking at someone, you can tell whether their back is out of whack, so to speak. Well, how is that?
My wife and I, when we shop, I'll always point out people, I'll say, that guy has a problem on his right hip or his back. You can just notice the way they walk. For example, in the grocery store, you see that person leaning over the shopping cart, or you see them walking, and every once in a while you see the person sit down on a bench for maybe 4 or 5 minutes, and then he can resume his walk. The cause of back pain, especially if it's weight related, does that have to do with those discs in your back? It does.
What happens?
The disc is the shock absorber, and that gets eaten away when there's more pressure. And so if the discs come closer together, that'll choke off the nerves that are in between.
All right, so we're looking at a picture here.
The pink portion is the disc, and then oftentimes that fluid will squish out. That's called a herniated disc that we're looking at right now.
And what causes the squishing?
Usually it's...
Is that the weight pushes it?
Yeah, weight is pushing out. When you're standing or sitting for too long, that disc becomes weakened, and that's what happens.
All right. Now that we've talked the talk about walking the walk with a lot of weight, how do we fix our backs, and what can we do?
I think it's so important that we have to keep moving, because stiff is old and flexible is young, and so we want to keep our bodies moving and flexible, and that's important. And then you have to address the weight issue. We have to take the weight issue off, and we're more than available to counsel you on that. But once the damage is done to that disc, the best approach right now in my mind that's out there is lumbar decompression. What that's doing is the specialized treatment, and we've talked about it before on the show. It causes like a weightlessness in your spine, and it draws blood into the disc, and once blood gets in there, blood does the healing, and then the body can start to regenerate itself to some degree.
Right now we're looking at the thing in between is growing.
Right.
Is that what happens when...
Yeah, to some degree. I mean, we're not going to take a totally degenerated disc and make it brand new, but all we need to do is increase that height or puff it up a little bit, and many of those symptoms are gone away. The leg pain, the back pain.
I would love it if you could bring a patient to talk about how this works in reality at some point, if you wouldn't mind.
I would love to, because it would be great to hear from their perspective as to how it works.
Great, great. Well, this is all great information. Weight is, especially after the holidays, now we've had a chance to eat, and now we got to do something about it. And your advice is good. Thank you, Doctor.
Good, thank you.
All right, why wait to reshape your back's future? Walk to the phone and give Dr. Aboud a call. His number's coming up next. My thanks to Dr. Aboud for joining us today.
For more information, call the Solon Spine and Wellness Center at 440-248-5070 or log on to www.solonbackpain.com. Next, the market in 2013. But first, let's gear up for a quiz about your car. Namely, why is the instrument panel automatically identified as a dashboard? We won't horse around. We'll rein in the answer when we return.
Sometimes it's about beating the clock. Sometimes it's about beating fate. And sometimes it's about beating the unimaginable. But there's one opponent our team loves to beat more than any other. We love beating the odds. We are the Metro Health System. We are the proud sponsor of the comeback.
The newest masterpiece at the Cleveland Museum of Art is the Cleveland Museum of Art, with a soaring, light-infused atrium, completely redesigned galleries for every work of art, and the culinary splendor of provenance. These are just part of your magnificent new Cleveland Museum of Art. Come see Cleveland's masterpiece. Come see amazing.
In horse and buggy days, stomping steeds would kick up mud on their unprotected passengers. So the dashboard was designed to detour the dirt and make their travels tidier. When we switched to the horseless carriage, the name stuck, even if the mud no longer did.
If you enjoy wild rides, you'll be happy with this year's stock market because it looks like we're in for another roller coaster ride. But for those who prefer a tamer pace, certified financial planner Jim Lineweaver's here with just the ticket to surviving the ups and downs. Jim's with the Lineweaver Financial Group. Thanks for joining us again, Jim.
My pleasure.
Jim, what indications are out there right now that indicate that we better buckle up for a bumpy ride?
One of the biggest indicators that people look at, and it's not your retail investors, more your institutional investors, they're going to look at what's called a volatility index. It's called the VIX, and what it does is it measures what people are willing to pay for an option on the S&P 500. An option is the right to purchase something 1 year from today, and a lot of institutions use these. So when markets gets really volatile, like it did back in June of last year, it spiked all the way up to 25. A norm back in the 90s was between 9 and 10. It dipped to about 15 in the fall and ended the year in the 20s.
So, well, you know, the election's over, thankfully.
Yes.
And, you know, things tend to seem to go up and down a little bit more around election time. And now that the election's over, shouldn't that calm things down?
You'd think so, to get rid of some of this uncertainty and everything, and we know who the president is for the next 4 years. But the problem is everybody's worried about not only how the president's going to work everything out with Congress, because there's a lot of issues at hand, huge debt issues, but also as we're becoming more of a global civilization, you got to worry about China's slowdown, you got to worry about all the debt issues in Greece, our own economy slowing back down again. So there's a lot of factors that are out there that could still derail the market.
What should we do then? All right, we know that this is going to be ups and downs. Should we take everything out of the market and hide it under the mattress?
Well, that's not going to work either. Okay. So you got to stay ahead of inflation.
All right.
So here's a couple of things that you can look at. You can use Buffett's old rule of thumb, which was 100 minus your age is all the amount of money that you want to have at risk. So if you're 70 years old, then what ends up happening is, you know, you can have about 30% totally at risk of the market with no guarantees. There are other things out there like fixed income securities that you can probably use for the next couple of years before the interest rates start to raise. And there are other investments that are non-correlated to the market that might be able to get you in that 5 to 7% income range as well.
So buying and holding, is that what we should be doing now?
Well, unfortunately, the retail investors like you and I can't move as fast as institutions can, and therefore a buy and hold strategy really doesn't work. If you're going to have that money in the market, you have to make sure somebody's really minding the store. They're not always going to get it right. Nobody even does, not even Buffett. However, if you can catch the trends, you can actually save a lot of money and build good wealth over time.
But when I try to gauge the, you know, to make the right decision, I buy when it's the highest and I sell when it's the lowest. And I think a lot of people do that.
Well, then you need to come see me because I can take care of that for you. I'll get your emotions out of your portfolio and we'll get it back on track.
Is that what part of it is the emotions?
It's huge. Everybody gets their emotions in their portfolio, and you'd be amazing how successful people can be if you just strip that out of the equation. But it's very hard to do. But that's where a professional can come in to help.
And there are objective things to look at to determine what general direction. I mean, even if you can't time it exactly, which nobody can. But
exactly. Yeah, just like September of last year, we hit a 3-year high in the market, and we pulled a lot of our investors off the table in equities, and we had in a fixed income account making over 5%. So they didn't go through that dip. But a lot of people saw some of those things coming, but you got to be able to react based on facts and not just your opinions.
All right, and more information. You have a seminar coming up?
We do, and this will be really helpful for your viewers. It's free. There's no charge. It's on Tuesday, January 15th at 1 p.m. at our Valley View office, and also Thursday, January 17th at 6:30 p.m.
And you said this is free?
Free. There's no charge.
Okay.
I expect you to be there.
I will be there. Thank you, Jim. Appreciate that. The roller coaster ride of the stock market may not be amusing, but the good news is if you plan ahead and anticipate the curves, you should come to the end of the ride in good shape. For help, attend Jim's seminar. There's lots of good, helpful information. I've heard it. They're great. He's easy to understand, and it's free. Give him a call. His number's next.
Learn more by calling the Lineweaver Financial Group at 1-888-313-4009 or log on to www.lineweaver.net. Looking for places to go, things to do? Welcome to our community calendar. Fashion includes foundations, and the art of what's underneath our outer clothes is revealed in Undress, Shaping Fashion and Private Life at the Kent State University Museum. This exhibition explores silhouettes that are worn for shape, support, or simply for style. To gather information about seeing these garments, call 330-672-3450 or click to www.kent.edu.
You're all grown up now, but a childhood virus could come back to haunt you. Dr. James Campbell is here to connect the dots between your childhood chicken pox and the painful adult affliction of shingles. Geriatrician Dr. Campbell hangs his shingle at Metro Health. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you.
It's so good to see you again.
Good to see you.
Dr. Campbell, tell us what's shingles.
Basically, the chickenpox virus that you had as a kid goes into a dormant phase in your nervous system. Sits there for 50, 60 years, and then the risk is that that virus reactivates and causes a rash that also has a pain component that usually is on one side of your body, usually follows the path of the nerve. It's a very interesting rash, very distinctive rash. We work very hard with trying to make sure that people who have this type of painful rash come to see their physician quickly, because if we can
How quickly? When do you need to know?
You really need to get on the antiviral medication within 72 hours in order for you to have the maximum effectiveness of that. And the other thing we want to talk about is the fact there now is an immunization. There's now a vaccine that helps to prevent people from getting shingles.
So just so I can clarify, you had chickenpox. The chickenpox is long gone, but you can still get shingles 50 years later.
Right. Because it didn't really totally go away. It just went to sleep deep down inside you.
All of us that had chickenpox as kids are at risk.
Yep. And it's more common after the age of 60, and then as you get older, it becomes more likely that it'll have a chance to come back.
All right. So we get shingles. How do we get rid of it?
Well, we can get rid of it. Mostly your body heals itself. But we do have medication that it works against the shingles virus. That if we can get you started on that medication within the first 3 days of your symptoms, that will shorten the course of the disease and make it less likely that you have a chronic pain syndrome as a result of having the shingles. That's what we call post-herpetic neuralgia.
And the first symptoms that appear in the first 3 days, those are pain?
You oftentimes start with pain before the rash. interestingly, sort of in a one-sided area, one part of your body. It's been mistaken from everything from gallbladder cholecystitis to a myocardial infarction. It really depends on what part of your body is involved as to what it can imitate. But then, bing, all of a sudden, and a day or so later, a rash starts to appear there. That's the giveaway.
So when you see the rash, if not sooner, get to the doctor.
Get right to the doctor.
And a vaccine, you said that there's actually a vaccine now to prevent the shingles?
Yeah, the vaccine is now recommended by the Centers for Disease Control for everyone over the age of 60. It's a live vaccine that it decreases your chance of getting shingles by 50%. So it's not perfect. It doesn't say, you know, you take this and we've prevented you from ever getting this disease. But if you've talked to people who've had shingles, or worse yet, who've had the post-shingles pain syndrome, they would say, boy, if I could have a shot that would make it 50% less likely I would have had to live through that, I would take it.
Any side effects on the vaccine?
You have to be a little careful about how you get it so that you don't have a financial side effect. Okay? It's the most expensive, currently recommended vaccine that's out there. And there's some, you just have to work with your physician around what your insurance coverage is,
Make sure you can get it covered.
Sometimes the shot itself has to be paid by your drug insurance, and the administration of the shot has to be paid by your medical insurance, and it varies policy to policy.
Thank you, Doctor. Always great information. Great to have you on again.
Yeah, it's nice to see you.
We can't completely shake off your chances of getting shingles, but early detection can ease its onset, and now you can prevent it, or at least have a 50% chance of preventing it if you get the vaccination. To learn more, give Metro Health a call. The number's coming up next. My thanks to Dr. Campbell for joining us today.
For more information, call Metro Health at 216-778-7800 or visit www.metrohealth.org. Next, a house is not always a home. It's time to get up and go. An exercise minute on Golden Opportunities.
Hello everybody, I'm Mike Carbon from Breakout Fitness, and today we're going to work our outer thighs to work on our balance and stability by doing a exercise band abduction. You ready to go?
I'm not sure.
All right. Hips and knees at a 90-degree angle. We're going to take our exercise band, place it right below our lap, bringing the band around behind our knees. Wrap it around once or twice, okay? Depending on your fitness level. Now, keeping your feet together, simply open your knees. Fight the resistance as you close them. Open all the way. All the way, nice and wide. You can do better than that, buddy. Good job.
They don't go.
Excellent. Remember, slow and controlled movements always. You remember to breathe. Armand, you can do it. Ready? Go. Fight it. Good job. 12 to 15 repetitions, 2 to 3 times a week. And now it's your turn to get up and go.
For your copy of the exercise booklet, please send $1 for postage to Golden Opportunities, 23240 Chagrin Boulevard, Suite 450, Beechwood, Ohio, 44122.
It was our great American dream, buy a house and raise our kids in it. And it was great. But now the kids are grown and gone, yet we still have the home that used to house 4, 5, 6 people or more. So it comes down to the question, should we stay or should we go? Relocation specialist Leanne Spacek is here to help us decide if we should love it or list it. Leanne's with North Coast Residential Relocation. Thanks for joining us, Leanne.
Thank you, Armin.
So our home, it has a lot of memories. That's the most important thing. And the kids and grandkids, they still come to visit and they feel comfortable. So don't we need that? Don't we need that space?
Well, the kids are really important, but the fact is that I've been to many people's homes and they're only living in a very small portion of that house. And then I have to ask myself, why are we paying for the electricity and the utilities in that big house when they're using such a small part of it? And I think what's really important for people is that they have safety, convenience, and quality of life in the home in which they live.
All right, so tell us how those factors, safety, convenience, quality of life, how those factors come into play when deciding if it's time to leave your home.
Well, they also interrelate with a person's age, their health, and their physical well-being. And by example, I would say if a person is having difficulty going up and down steps, just to go up to the bedroom or to go downstairs to do laundry can be challenging. And then we add to that the maintenance of a house, upkeep, cleaning, and it can become really difficult. And then also, in a case where someone has health issues or they lose a spouse, they can become isolated in that house, and their peers next door, people move away, younger families come in, and they lose their peer and their peers and their support system.
Lots of people are afraid to move. They're afraid that their good life is going to disappear. And are there, tell us, I mean, you know, people think of nursing home. I mean, are there options out there that that people can look forward to?
Absolutely. Oh my gosh, there are senior communities, there are single floor of living in condominiums, independent living, assisted living if people need more help. So these are all places that people might consider. The biggest problem is that they don't make the choice soon enough frequently, and they wait and wait until there's some personal situation or a physical situation. Either they should have a fall or a spouse passes, and now the children are suddenly brought into the situation and they're making the decisions, and our senior client is not in control anymore.
A week or two ago we had the folks from Breckenridge Village on, and they, I mean, it's like a country club almost you're living in, so there's a lot of nice options out there, I know. Expense, can we afford to move out of our homes?
That's a great question. And what I like to tell people is, you know how we make a pros and a cons list? I would say let's make a stay list and a move list. And under that stay list, list actually what your costs are of staying in the house. If it's a mortgage, taxes, insurance, landscaping.
You have to consider all the costs. There's a lot of costs of staying in your home too, so maybe it's not so expensive to leave.
Well, and then you have to compare that with the move cost, in which case if they go to an independent living place like Breckenridge, they can expect to have not only their rent included but also meals, dining.
And you help people with these decisions and with the move itself.
I do.
Thank you very much. Great information, Leanne. So moving can be overwhelming, especially when leaving the home where you raised your children is involved. But making that move may be the best move for your finances, your health, your quality of life. If you need help deciding if this is the right move for you, move on over to the phone and give Leanne a call. Her number's up next.
Find out more by calling Leanne Spacek at North Coast Residential Relocation, 440-248-5281, or click to www.northcoastrelo.com. Next, keep your IRA secure.
I know the devastating effects that back pain can have, not just on you, but your entire family. Instead of covering up your pain with drugs or surgery, we offer a procedure called non-surgical decompression. Decompression increases spinal disc space and it draws nutrients back into the disc. This allows healing to take place from the inside out. So if you're suffering with chronic pain, there is hope. I invite you to call our office to see if this proven treatment option can mean freedom from your pain.
Did you miss a phone number or website? Here's your second chance, because we're going to list all that information again. Then we'll be back to warn you about iffy IRA investments. How have your IRA investments been doing lately? If you're like most people, the answer is not so great. Interest rates are about as low as they've ever been. So some folks have tried to get creative with their IRA investments. Here to explain the financial and legal risks to seeking fast money is my always steady but not slow thinking law partner, Mike Solomon. Mike, good to have you here.
Hi, Erwin.
Thanks. what are some of the more creative IRA investments these days?
Well, maybe one you've heard about on the radio or TV a lot is a gold IRA. And what they're doing is they're saying, put your IRA in gold bullion and it'll grow tremendously and you'll make a lot of money. And another one you might see, they'll talk about real estate or coins or oil and gas investments. And they all have rental properties, even
rental properties.
So they all have sorts of different investments they promise.
Is it legal?
Well, it is legal, but there's a lot of risk involved. So, if you don't do it correctly, you could cause your IRA to lose all of its tax-deferred status. For example, rental properties are one in particular. If you don't do it right, if you don't follow the rules right, that IRA can now become a taxable IRA, which would be a disaster.
Well, that sounds terrible and risky.
Right. And the thing to remember is that whether you invest in gold or rental properties, there's a risk involved in that sort of stuff. And by putting in an IRA doesn't take away the risk. There's much risk whether you have it invested in the IRA or outside. But IRAs were meant for retirement, and there were tax advantages for income taxes and IRAs. If you blow it, if your investment tanks and you're 60 or 70 years old, you may not have a chance to build up your retirement account again.
Are people really doing this, especially older people? I mean, are they buying gold and other things?
Yeah, they are. As a matter of fact, there's a national organization put out some scams that are happening with these accounts. There was one, for example, where people were told to buy Turkish bonds. So, and of course, there's a lot of risks to that sort of stuff.
That sounds daffy. Turkish daffy. I remember that, right?
Very good.
All right. So, with these scams, I mean, how do we avoid them?
Well, first of all, anytime you have any sort of unusual sort of investment, you sit down with either your investment counselor, your accountant, or your attorney and find out a little bit more about it before you throw your retirement account, which is your...
That's it. That's your safety net.
That's right.
Okay. Thanks, Mike. IRAs were meant to help retirees with financial security, providing tax benefits for retirement savings. They were not meant to pay for risky investments. Be careful of investing your IRAs in things like gold, or you could wind up tarnishing your golden years.
Call Budish, Solomon, Steiner, and Peck at 1-888-236-5173 for more information or to schedule a speaker for your organization. Or log on to www.budishandsolomon.com.
Until next week, please make the most of your golden opportunities.
Would you like to join our kitchen conversation? All you have to do is call toll-free 1-877-765-1543 and leave us your question, name, and phone number. Or log on to www.golden.tv for all the latest information and show updates.